This video contains gratuitous use of profanity and uncomfortable pauses to compensate for lack of professionalism and original thought. Viewer discretion advised.
Live from the insidious lair of Mark Zuckerberg deep within the catacombs of Cobra Law, we proudly bring to you the Nerdy Manroom Show. Your host, Hassel and Monster. Monster, we got a ton to unpack. I got a big show this week. You know, you've been gone for far too long being a highly successful corporate executive, so. You know.
I don't know if I'd go quite that far, but yeah, I was out of town.
Kick us off and give our sponsors Zone a little love.
All right. Well, we want to make sure everybody checks out our sponsor, The Zone Collectibles. They have a store located in Tifton, Georgia. You can find them on the internet at thezonecollectibles@gmail.com and on Facebook at The Zone Collectibles. Make sure you visit them for all your nerdy needs, whether it's comics, Legos, trading cards, toys, games, and so much more that if you can name it, they probably have something of it somewhere. Help them support the local artist community through their cause of bringing unity through community. Fandoms unite. And I think with that, Hassel, we probably got a good shot just to go straight into our news because we've had a ton. And like I said, we were out for 2 weeks. So just for everybody's information, some of the news that came out during that time period, because it's so dated, we probably won't cover it. We're going to try and hit some of the high points, especially. But a lot of the pre-orders and things like that that were listed, because there were multiple listed across the last couple of weeks. We're not going to go into every one of those, just a few of them that we thought were really neat looking and caught our attention more than others. So if you want to discuss any of those,
now, you've already pre-ordered them.
Yeah. And if you want to discuss any of those with us, feel free to hit us up in the comments on here or in any of our social media areas, and we'll talk about those. We just, to save time, because we know everybody has a busy life, we didn't want to take too much time going through every single one of those, or we would be here for 3 to 4 hours tonight. Easily. So, Hassel, how about let's start with the sports news, and I'll let you kick us off there.
Well, on a sad note, apparently the Atlanta Braves are parting ways with Freddie Freeman. They couldn't come to terms on a contract. He is embracing his free agency, and without notice, they signed first baseman, all-star first baseman from Athletics, Matt Olson. He's a jam-up player, younger than Freddie, and they signed him to an 8-year deal. Matter of fact, it was just announced today. He got signed to an 8-year deal. We haggled with Freddie over an extra year, so I don't know if there was more behind the scenes than is what is being alluded to, but yeah, it's a change, passing of the guard so much in Atlanta. We're passing ways with Freddie. Moving on to football, the Broncos are pretty excited about this. They signed Russell Wilson, so for the first time since Peyton Manning retired, my Broncos have a quarterback. Pretty stoked about that, and hopefully we have a chance to build around it, because it looks like the Atlanta Falcons are going to be shitting the bed this year, as Calvin Ridley is already suspended for the entire season due to, betting on games and whatnot. We've touched on that some. Aaron Rodgers signed a mega deal with, Green Bay, 3 years, $150 million.
Yeah, when they backed the Brinks truck up to his house.
Yeah, I don't think he's got to worry about putting a little oil in that greasy man bun if he has anymore. So he's going to be good for quite a while.
So did you actually see that, though, when he signed the contract, and then they actually backed up the armored Brinks truck to his house?
Oh, I didn't.
Yeah, we were where I was at. They were a lot of that stuff was caught on the news and stuff, and everybody was talking about it. And one of the people I was working with was a huge Green Bay fan because he's from Wisconsin, and he's like, yeah, it's like, watch this, and they actually backed up the freaking armored truck to his house when he signed the contract. Now I don't know if anything was actually in it, but that's like, wow, that's just such a power move, I guess. So if you could pull it off.
If nothing else, the pomp and circumstance behind it, that's bold. But I mean, yes, the man is getting paid, and my only haggle with that is, one, I just don't like his character. He's a piece of shit outside of the game. On the field, he's great, but I mean, realistically, what Green Bay needs to look at is they got one Super Bowl with this man. Yeah. One Super Bowl. The Rams just got one Super Bowl with a guy that's been in Detroit for the last, 12 years? So, I mean, maybe it's not all right there at the QB position, but hey, what do I know? But moving on, we got good little bit of wrestling news. Sadly, we got the passing of Scott Hall. He passed away, unfortunately, yesterday after having 3 heart attacks due to a blood clot and complications from hip surgery. Huge chunk of our childhood there, Monster.
Yes, from what I have seen and heard, it was he had a blood clot after the hip replacement surgery, which actually the only reason he was even able to have that is because he and I think Diamond Dallas Page helped him out get a GoFundMe started, and it was like 80,000 for the hip surgery replacement or something like that, and he got like 100 and something thousand out of it. And after that, he had a blood clot that went that finally, when it released, it actually caused 3 heart attacks. After they actually got the blood clot released, but then it caused heart attacks immediately afterwards, and went on life support right after that. And from what I saw, Kevin Nash was the one who announced that the family was coming in yesterday, and that they were going to be turning the machines off, which was kind of expected because he was solely surviving on them. But I think Kevin Nash was pretty upset about it from what I read. Not that he was upset at them turning it off, but just because of Scott being gone, right? But
I think it was late Sunday, early Monday that he announced that, and it was crazy because literally a few minutes prior to Raw coming on yesterday, I actually had just read on like Facebook that he was off life support and he was breathing on his own, or functioning on his own. Then when Raw kicks off, they had the in memoriam. I'm like, whoa, wait. And for like a few minutes online, you couldn't find anything. And then next thing there was a massive outflow, and it's bad.
Yeah, and that terrible and sad for them, and I hate to hear that because he was a huge part of the NWO and bringing up the changing the way the game was paid and everything else. But and unfortunately, it was that time, and at least he didn't suffer from it. I mean, I think as soon as he had the heart attacks, from what I understood, he went straight on life support and comatose maybe. So it wasn't like it was a suffering thing. Fortunately, I mean, as much as you can look at the fortunate side of that.
Yeah, that's kind of like with Big E right now. He's suffering a broken neck, and they're saying it's close to the Stone Cold scenario where it could possibly be career-ending, but at the same time, he has functionality. He has no loss of anything. But
because that was actually our next topic, or our next news note was that Big E, had that injury was it last week on SmackDown, I think, and he just a belly to back suplex, I think it was, and he landed wrong, or German suplex, one of the two, but he landed wrong, landed right on his head because timing was just off. Usually they jump for you a little bit, so I'm guessing either he jumped early or they grabbed him early or whatever. But it broke his neck, and the 2 vertebrae that were actually cracked and broken were he had functionality, so he can feel all of his digits, he can move everything, which is a great sign to begin with. But they said the ones that are broken are the ones that if they don't heal properly, that can eventually lead to further problems and eventually paralysis. So he's not guaranteed to be able to come back. And I think they were actually going to be reuniting the New Day from what I've seen at WrestleMania this year. Is going to be the 3 of them against Sheamus, Pete Dunne, or Butch, or whatever the heck his name is this week, and Ridge Holland, I guess.
Yeah, that was the whole reason Dunne got called up and got repackaged with that horrible new gimmick that he got. Maybe that's what it was. He was pissed off about that horrible new gimmick, but it was supposed to be a 6-man tag match there, and unfortunately, not only is Pete Dunne saddled with a terrible gimmick, he's now gets the gloom of being the guy that possibly ended Big E's career.
Yeah, and I think from what I've also read, he's not getting a lot of backstage heat. It's not like everybody's upset at him. It was a pure accident.
I mean, it's a freak accident. I mean,
and I think from what I saw too, that not necessarily Sheamus, but I think Ridge Holland and Pete Dunne were the first 2 at the hospital, even beating Kofi and Xavier there, to see about him. Because the guilt factor, I'm sure, kicked in. It's like, oh my God, what did I do? But they were the first ones there to visit him. But while we're on WWE, and maybe this will be one of their stories eventually, but WWE and A&E have expanded their contract for more than 130 new hours of WWE themed programming. And I will tell you that I watched a lot of the biography ones, the ones I could get that were on the free version. I don't have the paid for version, so I haven't seen them all, but those were really well done. And I think along with that and Most Wanted Treasures, which are going to get second seasons, they're doing a show called WWE Rivals, which is the working title. That it may change, but it's going to talk about the biggest rivalries, not only on screen but also off of screen as well. So, hope a lot more documentary stuff, and I enjoy that stuff.
I watched every episode of the Hidden Treasures. I really, really enjoyed it, and I wanted to watch all the biographies, but I mean, they're 2 hours long or whatever. And the night they came on, it was almost like Yellowstone was on or football or something. So I would miss them and say I was going to go back and watch them and never did. And I've seen most of the Ultimate Warriors, and I think I've seen a large portion of Shawn Michaels.
Yeah, I did not see Shawn Michaels. And who else? There's like 3 or 4 of them that are locked because you have to have a paid for account or a cable account. Then you log in with your cable account. Well, I don't have that, so I don't think I've seen Ultimate Warrior. I think I've seen Macho Man and Roddy Piper, and
I did see Bret Hart.
Booker T, I think.
But if you followed Bret Hart at all since his retirement, there was nothing that you didn't already know. It's not like there was any groundbreaking anywhere. It was sour Bret Hart, discussing a lot of things.
Yeah, and I watched those, and like I said, they were really good, but I didn't realize until I was reading the news on this that actually those 2 series are the 2 most watched series on A&E. Not like they have a ton of stuff that terribly many people watch, but for them to be the number 1 and number 2 new shows on there was impressive.
Beat out the Ancient Aliens.
Yeah. Well, moving away from WWE, though, how about AEW and their big news, which I will for once say that Tony was not completely wrong, and he actually had some big news to share, because most of the time he hypes that up, and that's not the case. But
typically he oversells his hand, but on this one right here, that was major groundbreaking news with him buying Ring of Honor. As to the specifications, we do not know yet beyond the library and equipment and the rights to it. But I mean, does he have a TV deal with Sinclair? Because I think they were on Sinclair programming. So do they have a TV deal? Is he going to wait and put it on HBO Max? But he has to get the promotion back going if it's going to pay off for what he paid for it.
Yeah, and if he's right and he's going to use it as a training ground, that'll be great. Except my fear with him taking that over is how he likes to dabble in everything and wants to put his hands in it. He needs to let somebody else run that. Him booking one show is hard enough. Now he's got an internet show and a second show on television, and now you've bought another promotion. He does not need to try and book all those.
He needs to put Ring of Honor in capable hands, and he has some capable hands at this point. Because I mean, William Regal is there, and that in itself is a blessing to them. Put it in the capable hands. Do away with those 2 internet shows, and you have 2 promotions you keep totally separate. Once a year, have a pay-per-view. Doing a Super Bowl type aspect. What we always wanted WCW and WWF to do, but that would be the smartest plan of attack. And that was big news. I mean, the only thing that was bad about it was watching Tony Khan deliver it. That was
he needs to stay off television.
Holy shit! People ask me why I wear glasses. I don't want to look like Tony Khan on in front of a camera. This cat's eyes was this big around like he just hit an 8 ball, and he is so uncomfortable looking. Oh gosh. It's bad.
I'm going to try and stay away from picking on him too much, just because I know if I get into it, I won't stop. But while we're on AEW, let's jump over to toy news. And they've got several things coming out. I've seen recently that GameStop's pushing their Street Fighter-esque figures and stuff. But the big one that I thought we should probably hit on was a special commemorative ringside exclusive set they're doing from Jazzware. This Brody Lee and his son -1 as action figures. That one is actually up for pre-order right now for a $60 price tag for an early June release. And like I said, we weren't going to try and cover every toy that was coming out lately, but this one I thought was a good one to hit on. And I'm pretty sure that I read somewhere, and I could be wrong, that I think if not all, the majority of the proceeds from this one, from the sales of these figures, are going to either his kids' college fund or something like that. It's some kind of charity. And or his kid or whatever, because him being
It's
gone.
probably going to support the family. I think.
Yeah.
Well, they should be taken care of. Because if I'm not mistaken, Tony Khan gives the kid and the wife a lifetime contract, with the company. But it is pretty nice of them to, do something else as, some supplemental. And I'll be honest, looking at the pack, I mean, if you just look at the 2-pack itself, it's like, okay, that's cool. But they done some promotional pictures, where they're posed up and like they're holding hands in one, and like he's got him on the shoulders.
Yeah,
I don't know. That was like, wow.
Yeah, and I think the one where he's sitting on the shoulder is actually the stock footage that we have for that we put in post editing, and I think that's the one that I have picked out. So, I saw all of them, and I was like, well, I could get the box one, but that one's more touching to me, so I'm gonna go with that one.
That one and the one of them holding hands out like they were walking. Both of those hit me in the feels to the point it's like, damn, I almost want to buy these just to, but I don't want to hit on all the figures, but did you see their Supreme line? Those figures look amazing, and you technically get 2 action figures for every one. I don't know what they're going to retail at, but those look great.
I must have missed those. What I saw was this pack, and then I saw the Street Fighter crossover ones, which I'm not gonna lie, I don't like the Young Bucks anyway, so that disgusted me when I saw Ryu and Ken, Ryu and Ken Light, or whatever you want to call them at this point.
Yeah, they got a Supreme line that's coming out, and there's like Cody Rhodes, Malachi Black, Dr. Britt Baker. There's somebody else I'm totally missing. But you get like 2 sets. Kenny Omega, I believe it was the first 4. You get like a torso, and they have multiple heads, kind of like what the Ultimate figures are doing with, WWF. But then they also have like a separate pair of trunks, like legs and everything. Like you can take the torso off and put, because like Malachi Black, when he debuted, he had trunks. And then he went to the the more shorts, boxer shorts stuff, or Muay Thai or whatever. So he has both sets of those, and he's got multiple headdresses. Cody Rhodes has 2 different pair of the long tights.
Just one say WWE and one say not here anymore.
Yeah, because I did hear the rumor is pretty much he was going to debut yesterday before Scott Hall passed, and they decided to save that.
There's been so many rumors. I've quit listening to him at this point because he was there and he's not there and he's not there and he doesn't go here anymore. But
they're teasing him and Rollins at Mania because during the match, at the end of it, they said Seth Rollins' dreams have just been dashed. He's got a real nightmare on his hands. So we'll see.
They've done that several times, but if you notice, they're not getting a pop out of the crowd when they do that.
I don't think the fans honestly care. His fans are AEW fans, and it's that built-in fan base over there. They want him there. They don't want him there.
It's going to be interesting to see how that plays out. But before we jump ahead, and I know this is actually getting out of order because we usually don't touch on some of this stuff during the toy news, but let's go ahead and talk about since we're talking wrestling so much, let's talk about the video game, WWE 2K22. I know you picked it up last week. I got my copy. I didn't get to play it until I got home, and I only got like 2 hours with it before I had to go right back to other work stuff. So I've played 1 match and made 1 creative character on the My Rise. So I don't really have a lot to say about it just yet.
I myself have played it quite a bit. My fiance hates me right now because if she even comes in the room and sees that controller in my hand, she just goes to the back of the house. She doesn't hang around. I enjoy it. I mean, I will say the Rey Mysterio package that's
the
there.
Showcase.
Yeah, the showcase. I played a few of those just because that's the only way to. Even with I bought the NWO for Life edition for obvious reasons. But so you get everything with that right there. But there are certain characters you can still only get by defeating that. You don't get Shawn Michaels unless you play that. You don't get Eddie Guerrero unless you Batista, the 08 Kane, because the Kane that's on their stock sucks. So you have to play, and then you have to hit certain sequences throughout the thing, which I will say the Halloween Havoc Eddie and Rey Mysterio one was really fun. I had a lot of fun with the Shawn Michaels and Rey Mysterio one. Kane and Mysterio was kind of, I haven't played Batista yet because he's the last one I want to unlock up. But I mean, it's a fun game. I was super surprised at how high rated they gave the Hart Foundation and tag teams. They were the highest rated tag team on there. It was a little sad that as you only have Brett and the Anvil on there, which I mean, it's some DLC coming where Bulldog is in that, but that's the only other Hart we're going to get this go around. So it's I give it a solid. So far, I give it a solid 9. I mean, I've looked on there. There's some pretty good creators out there. That's I always enjoy going to the market or whatever, I guess, however you want to say it, and downloading with other people because I've done give up on trying to create my own. I'm terrible at it. They never look the way I want them to, and I spent far too long. It's just much easier to shop around because I've downloaded a really cool AEW arena, Kenny Omega. I've got a really good, really super good, and I wish I knew the guy's handle now that's on there. He does a lot of stuff. CM Punk though, it looks great, really great.
Yeah, I've only gotten to play, like I said, one match, and it was easy controls, and I enjoyed it. But I will get to check it out more this weekend, hopefully, and give.
I will say it, control wise, it seems to flow a lot better than the last probably 3 or 4 they've done.
I haven't bought one since 2015, so the controls are upgraded from what I played anyway. But I mean, it was very intuitive. But with that, let's jump back over to our toy news, and we've got just a few announcements and things. Walmart CollectorCon dates were announced for March 24th and 25th, so next week. Well, I know we heard mention of it several weeks ago when they did the G.I. Joe live stream. They couldn't remember the exact dates, but that's actually when it's going up now. We know they're going to get the classified retro figures, carded figures on that event. We're also going to see the Marvel Legends Deluxe Ulux figure come out then. And we know that Hasbro's got a big presence in this, so we're expecting to hear a Star Wars and Transformers something to go along with it. We don't know what they are just yet, but be on the lookout for that next week if you're interested in any of those items. Super 7 did a Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles Ultimates Wave 7. Their figures are up for pre-order now. I didn't see when the end date was, but it's usually a month from when they pop up. This go around, they've got, I saw it listed both ways. So this character is the same, but in the comics he was called Gorilla, and on the show he was called Sergeant Bananas.
Yeah.
There's Punk Rock Donnie, Triceracon, Infantryman, a robotic Bebop, and there's a metalhead repainted to be a Michelangelo metalhead, which I don't even know where that's from. I don't even remember seeing that before.
Well, I was sitting there trying to remember robotic Bebop, and I was like, I vaguely remember an episode where it seems like it happened, but I'm not 100% sure. But the Michelangelo that way, it's just like, okay, so are you just gonna slowly pump these out with every one of the turtles at some point? 1 or 2 new
I don't know,
accessories.
and I think that robotic Bebop, and I'm not sure if it was or not, but I think that there was a robot Bebop and Rocksteady that were supposed to be like the Mighty Bebop and Super Rocksteady or something. They were supposed to be superheroes, and I thought that's maybe what it's from because I've seen NECA's released a 2-pack of that as well.
Competition.
Every time NECA releases something, Ninja Turtles, so does Super 7. It's like they're just trading back and forth.
I will say it was kind of funny today on Facebook. Super 7 and put a teaser on there of an upcoming figure they're going to announce in the next few days. And I think it's the Godzilla Wave or whatever lineup. The first thing one of the fans put on there is, how about you get our Thundercats out to us before, and Silverhawks, before you keep trying to put hype other figures.
Well,
I was like, ooh.
Speaking of that, they actually put the Wave 5.5 Thundercats Ultimates up for pre-order. And the rumor was this was supposed to be coming out with the Wave 5 originally, and then something happened and it got delayed. But we've got Mandora, the Evil Chaser, and her Electro Charger bike. You can buy them separately. You do not have to buy both of them. It's like $55.99 for Mandora, which is normal pricing. And then the bike, I think, is $150 to get. Now, it looks really cool, but there's no way I'm paying $150 for that motorcycle. No. I'm going to shell out that much. I'm going to get the Thunder Tank. For an offhand character who occasionally showed up, I just can't see it. But
well, that again, Thundercats, I thought she was Silverhawks. Wasn't she one of Monstars?
No, she was Thundercats. She was actually a intergalactic police officer in Thundercats.
For some reason, I don't know why, I thought she was one of Monstars' henchwomen.
Nope. She was Thundercats all the way.
I'll be down.
They were when they were talking about crossing the shows over back in the day. She was going to be the character to go back and forth for the first noticeable character to say she's in both of them, so they're happening in the same universe at the same time. But I don't think it ever came to fruition.
No, I don't know why. I actually had memories of her in the show.
You dream a lot of stuff. We don't need to talk about what you think about at night when you go to bed.
Sleep apnea's motherfucker.
But while we're on Thundercats, Factory Entertainment, there's a pre-order up for a Thundercat Sword of Omens replica. It's 1-to-1 scale, so it's full size. It's 41 inches long. Comes with a really nice Thundercats symbol display piece for the wall. Nice price tag too, though. I mean, as nice as it is, it's $600, and it doesn't look as good as it looks. I will say it's not any better, I think, than some of the ones who are handmade at some of these conventions and stuff that you see that you can get for like $150. And that's my problem with buying it.
It looked really nice, but I remember we seen one at Dragon Con some time ago.
Yeah,
it looked. I think the one at Dragon Con actually the hilt looked a little better because they were actually the jewels in the handle.
Yeah, and it's not just like this one. I think they're just carved in there. They're not actually attached jewels. I think they're just part of the actual molding. I mean, it looks great, and I like the fact that they did on one side the cat's eye, and the other side is the actual Thundercat symbol, so you could have either one displayed. But again, I can go get one locally sourced and probably come out better.
Yeah, because Dragon Con's in September anyways. That gives me a little time to decide I need one.
Yeah, and I think the release on this is actually either third quarter of this year or fourth quarter of this year. So, I mean, you're going to wait anyhow, even if you spend that money to order it. But you mentioned NECA and Ninja Turtles earlier. So we actually do have one of the things I wanted to mention. They put a lot of pre-orders up lately, but the Target Haulathon, which is their version of Walmart CollectorCon, is starting this Friday the 18th. And one of the big things I saw from that is if you missed out on the animated style turtles that NECA does, they're going to have a 4-pack of all 4 of them go up for sale during this event. It's $150 for all 4, but truthfully, that's better than paying a 2-pack. And if you don't want any of the other characters, because every turtle was packed with a villain, so this route you can get all 4 turtles if all you want is the core team. That's probably something I will go in on because I wanted the core team and I wanted that animated look, which is the only reason I didn't buy the Super 7 because they were more toy-esque. But I didn't have the time and ability to hunt down every one of these when they hit the store individually with someone else.
And typically when you get that big pack, they always throw some accessory in there that you don't get with the original anyways.
Yeah, and I've seen these. They've all got their weapons, and then there's a turtle communicator, like 2 or 3 turtle communicators in there. So there's maybe not enough for every one of them, but they've all got one. Or, you can have one posed with them. There's pizza slices in there, pizza boxes. So a lot of stuff in there that you can use, and I may not open it if I get one because I'm an inbox person for the most part, but I think I'm going to probably try and find this one. But they haven't said what day it goes up for sale because they start this Friday, and every Friday they're going to be announcing new stuff for their for the next 2 or 3 Fridays. They'll be announcing new stuff for their haulathon, so you just have to be on the lookout for when it drops. But while we're doing those, there's probably going to be some of these McFarlane toys that are going to hit for a Target haulathon as well because they have a huge presence in Target. But we saw a lot of pre-orders go up this past week, and I'm not going to try and list the price and release date for all of them just because we saw so many from McFarlane for DC Multiverse. But just going to run through some of them that they caught my attention when I saw them. But there's an Entertainment Earth exclusive glow-in-the-dark Batman or Battle Damage Batman Beyond. Looked really cool, but it was just glow-in-the-dark.
I see that one actually.
There's a Hush single pack figure. There's a Batman versus Hush 2-pack, which looks like a repaint and maybe some extra accessories or something from the individual Batman and Hush figures that are out.
I was really let down by that Hush. I'm gonna be honest. Like I seen a teaser for it and I got kind of hyped. I was like, okay, because I like Hush. He's one of my favorite characters initially. And then when I seen the figure, I was like, holy shit, this looks terrible.
McFarlane has a way of either they're really great, especially when they're armored, or they just something's just off about them.
Well, they sacrificed everything just to have the trench coat closed.
Yeah,
that's part of the appeal. Is the outfit itself is some of the appeal to what made it look so cool to me. I like the open trench coat.
And maybe I from what I saw, I didn't see any difference between the 2-pack one and that one, the individual pack one. So. I did see one I thought looked really cool though, the Infinite Frontier Grifter. I would rather see him have a trench coat than a short jacket, but he actually looked really well the way they made him. There's a CW Season 7 Flash, which I think actually looks pretty good the way they did him. He looks a little barrel-chested, but to give him that running pose, you kind of need that anyway because you're going to angle him if you're going to open him up. But what I didn't like about it was I wanted it to be the Season 8 one and give him the yellow boots because that was such a big deal for the show. I was like, damn, they did that. Now they're going to release the figure with the red boots again.
Yeah.
They made a Rebirth Godspeed that's coming out as well. Those all are up for pre-order now. Now, these last three I have not seen go up for pre-order yet, and one of them I'm not really sure about. I know the other two have not, but the first one being John Kent, Future State Superman. I don't know if he's up for pre-order yet or not, but that was one of those figures I could have cared less to have even seen. I didn't like the way he looked. The figure looked really off to me. But that one's coming if you're interested in it. New 52 Red Robin, which actually looks pretty good from the pictures I've seen of it, and I know it's not out for pre-sale yet. Yeah,
you're a fan of that.
I like that figure. I like that. It was something. If you're going to try and say, okay, Tim Drake is not just Robin, you're going to make him Red Robin so that you can have him in the Bat family, but still have Damian as Robin. That's probably the most separated suit he's had because everything else just looks like a Robin suit. He just changes.
Oh, no. I'm not knocking that. I actually like the suit.
The figure itself
looked like shit.
I actually thought it looked pretty good. But the only picture I've seen is the one where he's flying in the cityscape.
Okay, see, I seen a picture where they had him kind of posed up a certain way, and it kind of like he was in action or kind of a pose. The joints where everything come together, the way they had kind of jostled him around to position him, you could tell like he only would look good in one particular pose.
Yeah, and that could be
which is a lot of McFarlane figures.
Yeah, he might as well make statues at this point, to be honest. But
yes, and that's the statue figures, or however you say them. That He-Man tried to do with the Four Horsemen.
So you mentioned it on this Red Robin. To me, the other one that I saw, which was this Rebirth Wally West, is the one I was like, I don't like that. And I love that outfit for Wally. I thought that was a pretty cool one because it's a take on his Kid Flash and his Flash one. But the deep red and the pants and gloves were too dark of a red color. I mean, they were almost, they detracted away. It was like, why is that so dark? And then the head sculpt was just horrible. Like the hair and all. I was like, whoa, what are you doing here? I am so glad I got that figure, but I got it when Mattel was doing their stuff because Mattel's version of that actually looks really good. Now, I do like the lightning attachments. It's the same ones that their other Flashes have, but that's a neat effect. But the sculpting is just bad on this one to me. Not too much more toy news left, but we'll jump over to Hasbro now and jump into some Marvel Legends. Just to mention these, the Disney Plus Wave 3, the Hawkeye and Kate Bishop are up for pre-order, which is really weird because they're part of that Ultron Build-A-Figure wave, and that's the only two out for order right now. And usually you don't see them do that. It's kind of a weird timing, but I'm guessing they're doing that just to try and cash in on it before it's too late, before everybody forgets Hawkeye was even on air.
I hate to delve off the subject, but I didn't know that the guy that voiced Red Skull and was from The Walking Dead was actually the voice of the Ultron in the What If series.
Yeah.
I just seen that the other day, and I was like,
Ross Marquand.
Yeah, I've seen him on a couple of shows where he does a lot of the voices really, really well.
Yeah.
So, but I just was like, and I seen it was actually something for a con. Maybe you sent it to me. It was something somebody sent me for a upcoming con somewhere, and he was going to be there.
Yeah, he's got
it was in his banner. I was like, oh shit. But back to you.
Yeah. The only other thing we've got was the 3 3/4 inch Wave 6 was revealed. That goes up for pre-order next week on the 22nd. It's a classic Thor, Green Goblin, Black Widow, the Thing, and then you've got re-releases of Black Panther and Black Costume Spider-Man. I don't see these things sell anywhere. I see them sitting on the shelf, so I don't know why they keep putting them out unless somebody's buying them, but I don't see it. Everywhere I go, they're just laying around.
Yeah.
Some quick comic announcements in there because we've got a lot of movie and TV news we want to make sure we get through as well. But Marvel has, I only saw a few Marvel things listed this past week, but Tony Stark and he's engaged now to Patsy Walker Hellcat. They have a one-shot coming out this June. It's Iron Man and Hellcat annual. They go to hell and back for some reason. It didn't catch my interest, but I saw it listed. Zeb Wells and Ed McGuinness are going to team up for Amazing Spider-Man issue. It's the Legacy 900th issue, which bothers me. Just either call it that issue or start your numbering over and leave it alone. But they keep going back and forth, so I don't know what actual issue it is, but it's 900 Legacy.
They will for 5 issues, and then they go back to what the fuck ever.
Yeah, so I don't know if you've seen this, but it's really interesting storyline. It sounds like so it's going to be that somebody, and they haven't said who the villain is given the super adaptoid the powers of the Sinister Six and set them off against Spider-Man. That sounds pretty neat.
I'm a big fan of this. I've seen the promo art for it, which I'm a huge McGuinness fan anyways. I mean, I love his art. I always did. And then, I seen the adaptoid, and he had all the Sinister Six, and I was like, ooh, that's scary.
Yeah, that's going to be an interesting story. And then the last one we had from Marvel was the Defenders team is returning in a new title this June, and the main villain of the series is going to be the Beyonder. That's kind of all the details we have so far. They didn't say who's in the team lineup. The last Defenders miniseries I just finished reading was Doctor Strange, and then Silver Surfer, and then several not even D-list characters, out of them F-list, I guess, at this point. So I'm wondering who's going to be in this and what the story is going to be, but that's all the details we've gotten so far for it. And that brings us to the TV and movie news, and we've got a lot of that stuff, so we'll cover some of them quickly, and some of them I think we want to delve into a little bit. But we'll kick off with Hulu. There is an update on the Futurama series. John DiMaggio is officially signed on to return as Bender. So,
like my shiny metal ass. I'm so excited.
You should be happy about that one. I know that was a big talk when we were talking about before, because
that was a make or break whether I watched it or not. So I am like pumped now. I'm back.
I am pumped for this next show because I actually really enjoyed their stint on Star Trek Discovery. But Paramount Plus has given a premiere date of Thursday, May 5th for their Star Trek Strange New Worlds. And this series is actually focused on the Enterprise before Kirk. So it's Captain Pike and his crew, because, Pike leaves in the first episode of the original series and Kirk takes over as captain. And Captain Pike and Spock and Number One, which was actually the name of the first officer on the ship, was where they got it from. But we're all on Star Trek Discovery, so this is going to be kind of the prequel area there for Star Trek, for where we start seeing it as fans. So I'm interested to see what they do there. Disney Plus, we've got some updates from them. All the Marvel Netflix show, we talked before that they were going to Disney Plus Canada on the 16th, but they're actually they've now confirmed that US, UK, Ireland, Australia, and New Zealand are all getting it tomorrow, actually, because today is the 15th. So tomorrow, all those shows should be on the streaming platform. And there's talk of Daredevil Season 4. There's rumors that they are trying to work out the production and green light that for Season 4 of Daredevil on there.
That's very exciting. And
yeah,
I keep hearing rumblings of Punisher.
I've heard back and forth on that, so I've tried to. I'm going to be less than optimistic on that one just because it's Disney, but we'll see how that goes.
I don't know. If the House of Mouse is rumbling around about Deadpool, Punisher can't be far behind. I mean,
we hope so.
If you get by with Deadpool, you damn sure will get by with Punisher.
And I don't know if you saw it today, and I didn't add this to our news notes, but they released the first trailer for Ms. Marvel, which I think is premiering in June. And I got to be honest, as much as I wanted to hate on that show, it actually looked pretty interesting. It actually
I knew it dropped. I didn't get a chance to watch it. We were actually pretty slammed at my occupation that wants to make me work. So I was unable to sit down and watch it, but I was aware that it dropped. I just haven't got to view it yet.
It actually looks pretty good. I was going to think no. The only complaint I've had is that she is. They're not going to go the route of making her an Inhuman. She has something that gives her something else that gives her powers. But the show itself actually looked. The comedy in it, as well as the action that they showed in the trailer, actually weren't bad. It was a good combination. But before we leave,
I did hear that they're already rumored to be working Brie Larson completely out of the Marvel universe after that movie.
I've heard that too. But I've heard that too. But then in the same breath, that part of that reasoning is not necessarily all hers. Part of that's because they want her to come over to Star Wars and do this High Republic series, because the main character from that actually looks a lot like her. It's like they tried to base it on her look just to make it easier to play it up later. But before we leave Marvel, we do have one sad note. General Ross actor for the MCU, William Hurt, passed away at 72 years old this weekend. He's had a several year-long battle with terminal prostate cancer. I think he announced in like May of 2018 that he had it. And, the fact that he was able to shoot all these movies that he has been in since then, and I know a lot of them were already shot by that point, but the fact that he was already sick with it and still able to do those is, both him and Chadwick Boseman, and his roles have been smaller, William Hurt's has, so not as much on-screen time or work time, but
definitely far less physical.
Yeah, but him being able to do it and considering what he was battling is actually pretty good. So that would be a high note for him, but unfortunately, the sad note is that we lost him over the weekend. So in the future, we will either see a new General Ross or he will be written out, I'm sure.
I got a feeling you just won't see General Ross anymore. I think they're going. It was leading to a Red Hulk, and I kept hearing rumblings and rumors of this with Thunderbolts or whatnot. But
yeah, that's what I was thinking. Is the Thunderbolts might be where he would pop up if he's coming back. And then HBO. We'll swap gears now to HBO Max and to our Warner Brothers stuff. So first, we're going to talk about some stuff for HBO Max and then Warner Brothers in general, because there was a lot of stuff coming out from them over the past week. But they released a trailer for DMZ, some miniseries from So they're going to be a limited series on HBO Max based on a miniseries DC graphic novel. I have never actually read it. It's supposedly really good, but it's less superhero, more of I don't want to say real life, but closer to real life. Some mother, and she's a New York medic. She's separated from her young son while they're trying to survive in Manhattan, which is a hot spot for the Second American Civil War. So, sounds like an intriguing story. I don't know if I probably would have rather seen it as a short movie or an HBO Max movie than a series, but maybe it'll be okay. I may pick up the book and read it just before the series hits, but I don't remember what date it's actually coming out, but I remember watching the trailer. And then we got a green light for Order of a Limited Series, The Penguin, starring Colin Farrell doing his penguin shtick from the current Batman movie. He was actually one of the higher points of that movie. I don't really care for a show on him, but I will say he was fantastic in that movie.
Well, I haven't watched the movie, so I'm not going to shit all over it, but I just think they're expanding that universe a little too damn much. I don't know what Penguin Show does for me.
Yeah, I'm the same way. But while we're on Warner, let's talk about them for a minute, because they seem to be undergoing a lot of changes. Seems to be a lot of pressure on them. I'm sure it's coming from AT&T, who bought Time Warner, 2 or 3 years ago at this point. But a couple of things we've heard over the weekend. First thing being that DC Comics team might be seeing their end with the company. They were kicked out of the office space now. They've been told to work remotely, so it's not like we're getting rid of you. It's just, hey, we're not going to have office space for you. Now, a couple of notes on that is, one, they are building a new office center for all of Warner Brothers Media and Time Warner, so maybe they'll be moving into there, but they haven't announced who's moving into there and where.
It's kind of speculated that they may not be part of the moving in crowd.
Yeah, and that's the thing. But and I've been part of one of these moves before, where we built a new office space and then people went there, and it was one of those where, hey, if you are at this level and above, you have an office, because we only have so many office spaces. All these cubicles, we're not assigning them. You either work from home, or if you get here in enough time, you get to pick your cube you're working at that day. So nobody has an assigned seating. So I'm wondering if it's going to be one of those cases, but they tell them only your executives, like maybe Jim Lee is going to be able to go there, but inker number 2 over here, you're going to work from home, which most of the creative team works from home anyway. But
yeah, exactly. At that point, you might as well work from home. If you got 1 or 2 executives in the office and everyone else is at home, you're zooming it in any damn ways.
Well, and I've seen a lot of companies too saying, hey, we're just going to get rid of office spaces anyway. Based on COVID and everything else, they sent so many people home, and then they saved on electricity, they saved on rental space. They're like, we don't need these office buildings anymore. Everybody just work. Y'all talk to each other virtually anyway, so why come in here? So there may be more to it, but it's kind of interesting that they kicked them out already and nobody else got kicked out.
How fun is it as a fan, though, to think of it from this aspect of the House of Mouse absorbing them?
So this is the thing. I don't know if they will sell the intellectual property, but they will sell the licenses to them. You write Superman comics now, but you don't own it, so we get a portion of the profit. That way, they don't have any of the expenses, but they're going to get a section of profit out of it. because I think that's one of the things that they're seeing with a lot of the Warner Brothers stuff, and we got a couple more things to talk about with them, but they're not getting their profit.
Yeah, they're gonna pimp. They're gonna pimp the property out as long as they can. But
Oh yeah,
I can see Marvel going for that though, just because if one of the major two goes down, it's not good for the other one.
no,
However, if they get the properties and can keep them as a, going as another Earth, and then having some crossovers here or there that boost these sales, it's just good business.
Yeah, that would be great. I think from Marvel's perspective, you've still got to pay the the creative teams who are actually creating that. I think that's what Warner Brothers wants to get away from. Let's have our properties and let's sell our properties and have the ability to make our movies about them, but we'll let somebody else write the stuff so we ain't got to pay the creators.
That would be the only hang up I would see Disney having, is the fact that they wouldn't be allowed to produce the movies as well. I can see that. I can see them being happy to make the movies and pay Warner Brothers a share like they do with Sony.
Yeah, maybe. It would be interesting.
And finally, we'll get some shit right then.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting to see how that plays out. But it's a very strange thing to see them kicked out. And then one of the other really strange things, and you brought this up once before, but to tie into this, the CW, majority of their shows, their backbone shows, are DC properties. Now, there's some that are not, like your Walker, Texas Ranger, your All American, the teen dramas, right? But CW has not renewed. Well, at first they said none of the shows had been renewed for next year. They have come out and said they've renewed 2 of the shows. I know Flash is one, and I want to say it's Naomi is the other one that might have been renewed. I might be wrong by that, but a lot of their other shows aren't renewed as well. And part of that, they're saying, is because CW is being shopped out to be sold by Warner Brothers and their partner Paramount, who owns the other half of it. Because you remember one time it was UPN before it was CW, and Paramount owned half, Warner Brothers owned half, and they are both saying that they are tired of taking the profit loss for it, especially with Paramount having Paramount Plus now and making money.
At this point, they would probably make more money to sell what existing shows they have out to syndication to streaming services and no longer produce anything, because they got what, 20 years now of content. So I mean,
yeah, and they're trying to sell the entire station out at this point, and that's why they're not renewing shows, is the rumor, because they don't want to say, hey, we're going to renew it, then not actually be there in another year or so for the stuff to come out. I know they did the Flash one, and that's pretty popular, but you got an easy outlet for these. CW being half owned by 2 stations that have streaming services. One of the 2 of them just buy the shows and put them on their streaming service, because the CW streaming service is completely free. You don't even have to have cable television to log in and watch their stuff, or have an account you subscribe to.
That was always baffling to me. I mean, you're taking a beating and a loss money-wise, and your streaming service and the thing is, even if you had like say you had a satellite provider, like I'm all streaming, and I do Hulu Live, plug for Hulu. So hey, if you want to pay hassle, hey, here we go. But back when I did have Dish Network and I had HD everything, the CW only come as standard.
Yeah.
If you wanted to watch any of their shows in high definition, you had to wait for it to hit on Netflix or watch it on the CW app. If the CW app was in HD. And so your free app is HD, while your paid show, and you had to pay extra for CW on Dish, was in standard. It's just baffling. That's just, I see why they're taking a loss.
And not only this, you talked about their content library for all the properties they had before that are ended now. They have a whole separate streaming service called CWC, which is a lot of the shows that were made strictly for a streaming platform by internet creators, or shows that had not been on air for a while, like what's one like your
like Buffy or Angel, things of this nature.
Yeah, it's not necessarily those, because I think those their rights belong to Hulu and stuff. They've been sold to them, but there's some other shows that they have. Yeah. Oh man, there's one of them with the guy who played Reed Richards in Fantastic Four, the 2 movies that they had, and he dies every day and he comes back to life, or he dies. He's immortal. He dies and he'll come back to life, and he's a medical examiner or whatever. I can't remember the name of the show to save my life right now, but like that was made for CW. It only ran for 1 season, but it runs on CWC now. You can sit there and watch. I rewatched the entire thing on there because I didn't see it all when it was on the actual CW network. But they have a few shows that are made strictly for like a streaming service. They're like 10, 15-minute episodes, and there's 10 or 12 episodes of it. Very strange that they have 2 streaming platforms though. Nobody has to pay for either one of them, and you watch all that content. and I see why they're operating at a loss now.
Yeah.
But
I mean,
I don't
that's
see,
just that's basic dollars and cents right there.
short of selling the channel, which is what they're trying to do, I guess, because there's more stuff about selling the whole channel and everything with it, which I don't really know a lot about. But I don't see why one of those two that own it wouldn't just absorb it and put it on their streaming platform and say, okay, we'll do these shows, but they're only on streaming. Like Star Trek Discovery is only on Paramount Plus. It's not on CBS or any of their own channels. It's only on streaming. So why not?
Well, you make it exclusive to that streaming service, and that boosts your subscriptions. I mean, it's
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. And especially the people who like for the CW shows, the ones that are really popular, like The Flash and your Superman and Lois has had great ratings and stuff. Put those on there. If you don't like one, don't do another season. Get rid of the ones that are tanking and keep the ones that are
I
good.
literally got Paramount Plus only for 1883 because I just had to see 1883, which I love and hate at the same time. I loved the story. It was great. I hated the fact that it wound up being a 10-hour movie. It's not getting a second season. It was never intended to have a second season. But I picked up this streaming platform solely to stream that. Then once I got it, I was like, holy shit, there's a lot of really great movies on here.
Yeah.
And like, I mean, as a horror fan, they got a better horror selection on there than Peacock or Peacock, Hulu, Netflix, even HBO Max. They got a better horror selection than any of those. So I highly recommend if you're a horror fan, get Paramount Plus. It has a great horror selection on there, and a lot of times you can catch the Universal monsters on there. They kind of come and go.
I went for it for Star Trek because while I can get most of the Star Trek shows on either Netflix or Hulu, the ones that have already been produced, all the new content's coming through there, and they have every Star Trek season you can want on there. And then they got a few old shows, like they got the original MacGyver is on there. The new MacGyver was on there, and actually I enjoyed that one. It was actually a pretty well done remake. But I got it. Do what?
What about MacGyver?
No, he's on Peacock, and I try not to watch that one. So before we jump in, because we're running a little closer on time, before we jump into the topics, the last thing that we wanted to mention on the Warner Brothers stuff is not only did they kick DC out of the office, they haven't renewed any of their shows. They moved all of their movie releases as well. Black Adam,
news,
every one of them got pushed backwards except for Shazam. Shazam is the only one that came forward. Black Adam moved all the way back to October, and it was supposed to be, June or so? League of Super Pets is back to got pushed back for later in July from earlier date, so that one wasn't a huge one. The Flash and Aquaman 2 both moved to next year in March and June separately, and Shazam actually got pulled up from next year to be in December of this year, which kind of makes sense because I'm sure it's leading off of what the Black Adam was doing. But what was so bad in Flash and Aquaman they had to go back to next year?
How crazy is it? The one we've seen the least amount of. You've seen hardly anything of Shazam. A few steals, a few pictures, and that's the only one not stalled out.
Not only not stalled out, it moved up from either February or March all the way back to December.
That's a little troubling.
Yeah, and I wonder too. So from what I've seen so far, it's not because of Aquaman, maybe because of production, because they were running behind on production schedule. So it's late anyway. So that probably moved there. The Flash one, I haven't seen anything about it being late or any bad footage or anything. I'm just wondering, how much of some of this is because it's related to some of this money stuff that's going on and saying, hey, we're trying to. So you push it back to June of next year, knowing you just started your new Flash season on TV, and you're going to have another one probably kicking off around shortly after that.
I believe Flash is rumored to be having reshoots as well, isn't it?
It might be. I don't know. I haven't seen anything on it.
I want to say I read something just in passing the other day about Flash reshoots beginning soon.
No, it may be. I haven't really looked into it too much. I just saw all the changes. I was like, well, there goes my movie viewing for the rest of the year. So, but with that, I think we're ready to move into our focus topics. And from that, I don't really have a great segue, but we were going to talk about G.I. Joe, a real American hero this time around.
Yo, Joe.
Yeah. So we wanted to talk first. I think what we talked about, how we kind of went through with some of the Transformers, we focused mostly on just the toys. This time we wanted to focus on the property of Real American Hero as a whole. Not necessarily all of G.I. Joe, because G.I. Joe has been around for a long time. We got Real American Hero starting in, 1982? This is the 40th.
82 is shorts, and then 83 is a start to the series.
Yeah. And this is the 40th anniversary, and that kicked off earlier this in the month of February anyway. And I know we're in March now, but that kicked off just a few weeks ago. And so we wanted to take a chance and talk about that a little bit. So let me start with this, Hassel. What is your let's just start with your take on G.I. Joe. What was it? What was it about it that pulled you into it, made you interested in it?
Well, for me, I mean, I love the cartoon, and as a kid of the '80s, I probably caught it after it went into syndication versus coming out every how it did to begin with. But I just love the fact that the stories were serious enough to where it didn't insult even a child's intelligence, but at the same time, it was just serious enough to where if you were to go back and watch them now, you can still enjoy them because they don't insult, the mom, the dad that's watching it with their kid, or the uncle that's watching them after school or whatever. I mean, you can kind of enjoy it with the kid at the same time. I mean, it kind of fed between the two, and it had a serious tone, but it had a moral and a message. It was good. I mean, it wasn't campy or like we'll get into with the second series of it, but I really love the tone of the show, so to speak.
Yes, and I would say that's probably true of any of those cartoons from the 80s. While there was cheesy moments and it was outlandish stories, like there's no way you create this pyramid of darkness around the earth, right, and shut off all electronics with that.
You can't really do that.
But there was a serious tone of these are terrorists and they're trying to take over the world and we're going to fight back, just like Transformers. It was an actual civil war, right?
Yeah.
We had some serious points, even though we had some cheesy moments. We had some serious points to what we were talking about and what we were looking at. I really enjoyed the cartoon. I thought it was one of those that was. While I love the other stuff, the Transformers and the superpowers and all the superhero stuff, to me this one was the first one that was like, oh, these are just regular people who were fighting. So it was a little more, hey, this is
as over the top as it was. It had a level of realism. Like these are actually men and women fighting for your country.
They don't have they got red and blue lasers, but they ain't got any superpowers. They're not He-Man, the mightiest human on earth, or whatever. They can't. And you actually got now where you never got to see anybody get hurt. Like if a plane was going to crash, they're parachuting out. You always saw the parachute open. But unlike He-Man, where he would punch and you would see him swing the punch, and then you would just see the after effect of everything flying backwards. You actually saw them shoot at each other in this, and I was like, ooh.
Yeah.
And then when they got the battle android troopers on there, you actually got to see them actually destroy those because they were robots. You actually got to see Sergeant Slaughter actually crushing them and beating them down.
I actually rewatched that a few nights ago because I knew we were going to do this, so I highly recommend anyone that doesn't have Tubi, just get it. It's free.
Yeah, and they have
it's on
great
there.
cartoons.
Yeah, it's got a great selection. I started with that Pyramid of Darkness that you were just talking about. Or Rise. It might be Rise to Pentaur Rise. I think that's what it was. That was the debut. It had the bats and the debut of Sergeant Slaughter on there, and I mean it was a great. I put it on to go to bed because I was like,
I do the same thing.
I need something to go to bed, and then I found myself an hour later like I got to go to damn sleep because it captivated me. Still, it was great.
Oh yeah, I've had that problem. But so let's take a little aside too, since you mentioned what's on Tubi. But if you haven't searched through there, you got Cops and Crooks, whichever one you want to call it.
Fighting crime in a future time.
Mask is on there. G.I. Joe, both the original series, the original miniseries, the original series, and the second series of it, which was, I don't think Sunbow did the second series. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe it changed to Deke Entertainment.
It changed to Deke after the movie.
Yeah, and we're going to talk about that in a little bit. But there's almost every season of Transformers is on there. They have, and if you want to actually watch any of the Power Rangers Super Sentai versions, they're on there as well, as is some of the Masked Rider ones.
And the only flaw I found with it is that occasionally, instead of a commercial, or where the commercial break will be, you will have an ad, or it'll have like a 30-second black pause, and then kicks back in, you know.
That, or if you get into one of those commercial breaks and you actually get a commercial and it's like a three commercial break, the time
Of the
frame
same
of that,
commercial.
it's the same commercial repeating. That's so annoying. especially when it's one especially when some of those hemorrhoid cream commercials or something. It's like, I don't even know about your hemorrhoids 3 times in a row. Just take care of it by now.
The more hassle beverages I've had into the night, it's more annoying it is. So yeah.
Oh, but jumping back to G.I. Joe, so I know we were both. I was bigger on the cartoon than the comic. Did you actually read the comic too, or were you just a cartoon only person?
As a kid, I was not into the. I'm ashamed to say this. I was not into the Larry Hama Marvel comics at all. I honestly didn't start reading G.I. Joe comics until, what was it, 2001 when Devil's Due took over.
Yeah.
And I picked up everything from Devil's Due up until IDW took over in '08. I read all that, and I loved it, but it's, was said to be an alternate universe. It wasn't. I guess IDW picked back up with the Hama stuff, but
yeah, IDW picked back up.
I didn't read none of the Marvel stuff growing up. I thought the art was a little off to me. I've always been one of those that, especially in my younger years, I can appreciate it a little more now. In my younger years, if the art wasn't great, I wasn't reading it.
Yeah, I can still read it if the story was good enough, but the art wasn't necessarily great. But what I found with the G.I. Joe comic, I have a few issues here and there, and I had I had the silent issue where they actually had no words. It was the entire thing with snake eyes, and I had a few of those like that were just, hey, I'll just pick it up occasionally. Just, hey, I see it in the store, I'm gonna pick it up and read it or look at it. And what I found though is it was hard for me to buy into it as a full series because I was so into the show. And then I read this comic, and there's a separation between the two. They're not. The comic's a little more serious anyway, which I was fine with. But then you look at it and you're like, okay, well, Duke wears this yellow shirt and got this short buzz cut haircut, and this tight to his head. But in the comics, he looked just like General Hawk. The only way you told him any difference was that one was wearing a jacket and one wasn't. Mm-hmm. And the disparage between the characterizations like that and like what everybody was doing, and like. In the show, you saw General Hawk show up and give a few orders, but most of the time it was Duke or Flint leading the team. In the comics, it was very seldom one of them. It was so separated, I could not get into the comics as much. It was just too far removed from the show that it took me out.
And I read articles where Larry did try to stay within the boundaries of what that's, along the path of what they were doing in the show, so to speak, within reason. But because I think they had a major falling out after the movie.
Yeah.
And that's where he almost quit, the book altogether. But like I said, to me, it was an art issue, and I guess it's because as a child, I loved drawing myself, up until my probably late teens, early 20s. So if the art wasn't there, I just couldn't get behind it. Plus, I mean, let's face it, back in the 80s and 90s, Hassel was on a budget, so there was only so many books I was buying.
Yeah, no kidding.
I had to get my little allowance there, walk down to the store, the grocery store, wherever, with the sold comics, and you had to pick and choose. I was buying Spider-Man.
Yeah,
I was buying X-Men. So was the art and story good enough to make me put one of those two back and grab that, or you know what I'm saying? I mean, so
yeah. Well, that's how I ended up with a few occasional issues because I was going to go buy X-Men, I was going to get Green Lantern, I was going to get Fantastic Four or whatever, but then I was like, oh, hey, there's not as many books this week. I can get a G.I. Joe one because it's there. And that's how I ended up with a few extra ones just here and there. But I don't know, it just took me out of it too much. It was like, this is too far removed from the show that I just can't enjoy it as much. Now, I will say, like you, I read some of the later ones, especially when Devil's Due did them. And I thought Devil's Due was a great one because it when I started reading it, I could pick up and it's like, okay, this is several years later. Like the Joe team's been disbanded and they're bringing them back together, and Duke's been in the CIA, and several of the others have been retired. So I can say, okay, I can pick this up, say it ended after the show or it ended after the comic, whichever one I was a fan of, because it was later time period.
It left a little gray area there to where you could still have in your mind your show or whatever stories you had in your mind. And Campbell done great on the art too. Those initial books that he done were, oh man, amazing.
Now I'll tell you what I couldn't read though that Devil Due did, and I started it. But that America's Elite, which was going to be a different timeline and a different reason for the Joe team and Covert team to exist, it started out great. And then about the end of the first year, like issue 11 or 12, you find out Duke's a traitor to the team. He's part of Covert, and I was like, fudge, no. You can have this book back. I quit right now. At that point, when
Uh,
several other people were traded, I was like, nope, that you just ruined all my characters. I'm out.
wasn't Chuckles wound up like being a major part of Cobra, or he was a double agent or something like this? And
I think he got killed in the first
yeah, maybe
year.
that's what
I think
maybe
he
that's
got
what it
killed in the
was.
first year, and you find out it was Duke who actually
Okay.
revealed
Yeah.
him and had him killed and stuff. I was like, nope, I'm out of this. This
I
cannot.
remember thinking that if it was good enough, I would go back at some point and buy the trade. And then the more you read, the more you heard, it was like, oh, I'm separating.
Yeah, I will say now though that modern comics wise, and I'm too far behind on IDW to try and catch up, and it comes off of Larry Hama's stuff, but they also built into crossing it over with all the Hasbro properties that they were writing, which was cool. And I've got a few of the books where the crossover stuff happened, but I will say that this current book, the new Saturday Morning Adventures, I am grabbing this one. This one is fantastic. And this is like watching an episode of the show. I mean, this is the interior artwork, and it's like a show.
Oh, sci-fi. There we go.
Yeah, it reads like watching the show, because you got like Bazooka's only like saying one or two line words after what's
Alpine.
his name? Yeah, after Alpine says something, and the whole plot of the first issue is they find a genie in a lamp, and Cobra Commander wishes for him to make one of his battle android troopers giant size, and a battalion of them giant size and then indestructible. It's like, this would have been a show. This would have been an episode of the show, no doubt. But the very best,
get behind that.
The very best thing I got out of it though was this, and I got to find it now. The last page is a straight-on PSA. It even gives you now you know, and no one's half the battle, and it gives you the G.I. Joe ending credits.
That's actually cool. I had reserved that I was not going to pick up another Joe title until Kirkman took the property over, which is rumored, but I may have to go back and get those now.
It's only a 4-issue limited series. Only number 1 is out now, but I was like, man, this is great. This is just like watching the show. And this one is the one to me that I was like, okay, if I was going to say something really was a successor to the show, this would have been it. Because speaking about that, we talked about the show and the succession of it and what it was and how the comics were. But what about that second series, the one that Deke did? Man. How'd you like that one?
The theme song alone, you knew right when that theme song hit. Got to get Joe.
Joe. Yeah.
Man, it's like you knew right there and said, whoa, this ain't my Joe team. What the fuck? What happened? And I'll give them credit. They used the characters that were starting to be prevalent in the action figure line. I mean, you got the sand scorpions coming up out of the ground, and you see the vehicles that are fresh on the shelf.
The Captain Gridiron character and stuff.
Yeah, Metalhead and a few others
in it.
But then they, at the same time, they made it really campy. Well, once was Sunbow or however, who had it before, and then Deke took it over. Once Deke took it over, they ran it in the ground real fast. What was it, like 55 episodes? I think I had it earlier, but I want to say it's like 55 episodes, and they're bad. They're real bad. And it's like the Joes are all clowning around and making jokes and stuff the whole time, and it's like, what's going on? And the villains look real. They come off as real incompetent and idiotic. You just buffoons, and you finally got a cool looking Cobra Commander. You got the armor suit that they, was like, okay, this is cool. And then just.
And the animation quality went down too. It was very
big time.
While the first one was not like the cleanest, I mean, you can look at this book here. They're very clean line and stuff, but there's not a lot of definition and all. But that second one, the shading and stuff, it was very, very animated looking, even more.
But G.I. Joe, much like Transformers, you got your episodes with the animation spot on, and then you'll have like one or two animation.
Oh yeah,
1 or 2 episodes with the animations off because they outsourced to the different studio or whatever. But the entire series of this, even the opening is generally going to be spot on. Like if you look at a lot of the 80s properties, that opening is movie studio quality. This one was not.
No. Well,
it looked like the off episodes of G.I. Joe.
That coupled with that theme song, I'm expecting to hear da 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 yo Joe, and it starts off got to get to. I was like, what the hell is this? What did I turn on?
Dude, I tried to power through a few episodes of that. I don't know, maybe about a year back. I got like super wasted, and that's back when I was, I think I was on night shift. It might have been almost 2 years ago now. I was on night shift at the time, and I was like just trying to find something to stay awake. And I'm getting slammed, and I was like, you know what? Why not? I don't remember a lot of this. Let's go back. And within 2 episodes, I seen why I didn't remember a lot of this. Because I know young Hassel was turning the damn channel at this time because it was terrible.
Yeah.
I mean, it was just god awful. Like, and I remember I watched that first episode, and it comes up. What? Whoa! Whoa! What the hell just happened here?
And think about some of the logistics of how some of it looked too. Like they changed the look of some of your classic characters. Like Duke was still in it. Now he had a flat top now, which is closer to General Hawk, but okay, he grew his hair out, no big deal. But then you've got a brown and red camouflage outfit. Who the heck is hiding with brown and red camouflage? That red ain't blending in nowhere unless it's the middle of fall and the tree leaves are changing and falling where you're standing.
No. Like I'd have got that they'd went with Tiger Force. Like if they'd had some Tiger Force worked in there, to help sell the figures they were selling, because they did work in Python Patrol for Cobra. I have seen where they have some of the Pit Vipers and whatnot were in Python Patrol type attire. Okay, why not just have the Joes and Tiger Force? I could have went for that at least.
So you bring up a good point there because I have not seen this anywhere, and I know I did not just imagine and dream this one up. At least I don't think I did. But in between the two shows, after the movie, after Sambo quit producing the episodes and Deke was going to take over, there was a miniseries, I thought, that introduced Slaughter's Marauders and Tiger Force and Python Patrol. It's where, and you remember in the movie, Cobra Commander leaves as that snake with all the eyes on his head or whatever. This actually shows him find the fountain of youth or something, and it restores him to a reptilian humanoid form. That's why he's wearing the armor now, because he's wearing the full armor because he is not fully back to humanoid.
Okay. I know what you're talking about. What that was supposed to be would have been season 4. They had actually the original team had actually written, and you got that from a con because they never actually got to syndication. There was, I think, 5 episodes because Xyber Max was going to lead the Cull, which is what was the remnants of Cobra, along with a few elites. Cobra Commander, like you said, he is wearing the armor and he's working behind the scenes, but he was playing back and forth between the Joes and the Cull to try to get his empire back. Yeah, and the Slaughter's Marauders and all them were.
Yeah, because Slaughter put together a team to go. I can't remember what it was. They're specifically to do, but he put together a team, and it was barbecue spirit. And they all started wearing the green and the normal looking camouflage, right, for their suits. They still had their individual suits, but they were camouflage now. I remember Low Light and all of them were on it, and I remember the characters and figures too. But I remember seeing them on the screen at some point. And I thought they introduced like the Tiger Force vehicles and the Python Patrol because it was only like 5 episodes from what I remember.
Well, it was meant to bridge into what would have been the 4th season, and it was supposed to be the first 5 episodes of that season. However, for whatever reason, they decided to pull the plug, go over to Deke, and when Deke got their hands on it, they just scrapped all of that and went with whatever was considered.
It was supposed to be the bridge, and then what Deke did, picked up a few things like Cobra Commander wearing the armor and stuff, but the rest of it, they just kind of like, okay, it either happened or it didn't, but we're not going to address it. Because I remember,
I think Serpentor is briefly in that there. He's not a big part of it.
Yeah, I remember seeing it. I just have not seen it anywhere else ever again. And I remember actually watching it because I remember seeing Slaughter on there with the different characters in his group and naming them off and stuff. And I remember Cobra Commander getting at the Fountain of Youth or whatever it was that restored him to a humanoid versus a full snake form.
I remember seeing it somewhere online years ago, but it was like a copy of a bootleg that somebody had posted.
And I may have had a video or a copy of it from a con or stuff because I used to have a lot of those, like the Generation X movie and the Roger Corman Fantastic Four movie and stuff.
Well, I had wanted to say that you and Josh maybe watched that at Dave's or somewhere.
Maybe so. Maybe so. I just remember seeing it, but I'm like, I can't find it anywhere. I'm like, man, I wish I could see because Slaughter's Marauders was cool to me. I like Slaughter. And I like the fact that he had a team there.
And that season 4 would have been far better than what we got.
Yeah. Well, since we're talking about those, one more thing I wanted to touch on here, because we were going to talk about the toys a little bit too, and what some of those meant to us. But while we're talking about the cartoon, what are your thoughts on the live action movies we got based? Because they were supposed to be based on the Real American Hero cartoons. Now, comics were a little bit separated. Later series were separated, but the 2 live action movies we've gotten so far, I'm not including Snake Eyes, because that was like a ninja movie and they just used the characters' names. But the 2 actual G.I. Joe titled movies were supposed to be based on the Real American Hero. I thought some of the characters and who played some of them were okay, but I thought the overall idea of the movie was not well executed.
I tried to like them. I'm a fan of some of the actors they had in them. Okay.
You got to think long and hard before you say stuff, huh?
I won't be honest. They both of those movies are double DS award winners for drizzling shits.
So
I'm a fan. I'm a fan of The Rock being Roadblock. I am. But when Roadblock, when he became the central focus, and you kill off Duke in the first 10 minutes of this movie, just because it's The Rock and you got to push him. No.
Yeah.
I was a fan of Dennis Quaid being General Hulk.
I didn't do
much with him. I was even a fan of the Ninth Doctor being Deathstroke. I did nothing with him. I mean, those movies it's like they wanted to do something and they just, which the same cat that done that, if I'm not mistaken, is the guy that done Mortal Kombat 2, right?
I'm not sure, maybe.
If I'm not mistaken, he done the Resident Evil movies as well, and that's the only thing he's ever got right was the Resident Evil movies, the first 2. But oh man, gosh, what's his name? It'll lose me at this moment, but if I'm not mistaken, he done Mortal Kombat 2. He done the Resident Evil, and it kind of built him back up. So they give him G.I. Joe, and he done those 2 movies and shit the bed with both of those. And then he just went off floundering into obscurity, hopefully. But I'm not a fan of either one of them. They strayed too far from what the source was. Duke wasn't really Duke to me, and I'm a Channing Tatum fan. I like some of his work. He's a good actor in certain comedic roles. Duke is not comedic at all.
No. I will say I was not, just to turn them on and have something playing, and just to, because I can't find anything else, or it's like, okay, I need something to kill some time, I'm okay with them. They're in the middle of the road. They're like a 5 out of 10 to me. I can turn them on and not be depressed by them, but I'm not gonna enjoy them as much. There's certain scenes that make me like, okay, I actually like that little thing, but that's about it. The casting,
scenes of Scarlet were all good.
Yeah, the casting you mentioned though, yeah, Channing Tatum was Duke. I actually thought he was okay with Duke as Duke. I actually liked him in that. He could have been a little more serious at times, but it wasn't terrible.
It was too comedic for me.
The Rock is Roadblock. I'm great with that. That's perfect casting if you had not made him be the leader, because he's not the leader of the team. No, is he one of the top tier guys? Sure.
He is a very pivotal part of the team, and he's one of my favorites. But one, he's not the leader. And not one damn time did I hear him rhyme. I did not hear him say nothing but getting in gear, kicking your rear. I didn't hear none of this. None of this.
And Dennis Quaid as Hawk was great. Now, one of the best castings to me that they did at all was Bruce Willis being General Joseph G.I. Joe Colton. I have no problem with that at all, because that's
was a fine throwback. I enjoyed that. They had all the tools in place between budget and cast to make those great movies.
And some of the other characters that were in there, the actors who were in there playing people, if they'd have been a different character, they'd have been great. Like the girl who was Adrienne Palicki, who was Lady J, I didn't have a problem with her being Lady J. The guy playing Flint, DJ Catrona, I think's who it was, that was not Flint's character. Now, he could have been any other G.I. Joe character that would have fit that mold of what he was playing. I've been fine with it. Flint is your straight up serious man. He's a warrant officer. He's a military guy and he's a police guy. He's your straight guy. He is not your let me do parkour around this place and crack bad jokes and disobey orders. That's not him.
No,
That's
pretty much
Tunnel
turned
Rat.
into Falcon. He was Tunnel Rat or Falcon at this point. I mean,
Falcon's perfect. Yeah, I forgot about him. Yeah, he'd have been perfect for that role. That was not Flint. And you only made him Flint because everybody knows Flint, and you got the second movie, so you're getting rid of Duke. You got to have Flint now.
I mean, they've done a great
didn't work.
job with Ray Park being Snake Eyes. I like the
Yes,
guy that was Storm
fantastic.
Shadow. They've done a good job with him, even though they killed him off like an idiot.
Well, they bring it back
But-
in the second one.
Oh yeah, of course they brought him back.
But the whole side story with all the ninja stuff in the second one also took away from the main story side. So Snake Eyes, Storm Shadow, and all, and Jinx, and they're all dealing with this in a whole separate area, and then they just come up for the final third act and get back with everybody. What the crap? Now
Yeah,
the dude
ninja
that played
shit, dude,
Firefly was awesome too. I cannot think of his
Yeah.
name.
But yes, Ray Stevenson.
Yes,
Ray
yes.
Stevens. He played Punisher as well. He's a great actor as well. He was really good in the other guys.
He was great in this as Firefly. I did not care for him as the Punisher. I'll be honest. I thought Thomas Jane was a better Punisher.
Thomas Jane, just because I enjoyed him better, but Ray had the better Punisher story.
He
It
had the
was
better
far more-
Punisher.
It
They
was
went too
truer
far
to
trying.
the comic to me.
They went too far trying to just make it gory though. It's like, he could have done a little bit better. You know, than
It was
forcing
Marvel
all-
Knights.
Yeah,
It was very Marvel Knights.
yeah. But you know, we've harped on the show and the movies a little bit. So let's talk about one of the other important things though. Let's jump over to the toys. Let's talk about the GI Joe toy because I will be honest. As much as I loved all the other stuff, and I had Transformers, and I had the Hall of Justice, and I had some of the superpower characters in the Batmobile. The stuff that I had the most of had to be GI Joe because they were at the time I think easily until Ninja Turtles they were easily the most affordable. They were small enough scale that you could have a ton of them and not worry about running out of space. And the vehicles were affordable, and you could actually build a whole world in a battle diorama. Like you buy a
For the
Transformer.
longest time, your average Joe was $2.99.
Yeah,
and I remember this because that was money I could scrape up myself and buy my own Joes.
yeah,
Like, because there's certain ones your parents will buy you because they're like, oh, they'll like this, and that's usually some.
yeah, or Christmas time, right, or your birthday.
Yeah, but it's the when you're searching for particular Joes, and you tell them, parents don't listen. Some do, some don't. Mine didn't. So I could scrape up the money. So I remember they were $2.99, and like most of your action vehicle accessories, anywhere from $10 to $20.
Yeah.
I mean, very affordable.
That's the thing. Like, and I can't say that they had a bigger cast. They did have probably the biggest cast, but He-Man's cast was huge. Like all the characters they kept coming up, He-Man, She-Ra. Between all those, that was a huge cast too. But you go by He-Man and She-Ra, and you're lucky if you're going to get one Wind Raider, and that's it. So you can't really build this whole world. You can just play with the characters. And you get one vehicle. So for GI Joe, I could go and get Wild Bill, and Falcon, and Flint, and Duke, and Snake Eyes, and then I can get one of the ships, and then I can get the Tiger Force helicopter, and I can have a whole battle world built because I've got everything I need between vehicles and characters fighting on the ground.
And one of the smarter things they did was certain characters you could only get with the vehicle or accessory.
Yes.
Like you could always get Skeletor. You could always get He-Man, Man-at-Arms, Triclops, all these guys. But in G.I. Joe, if you wanted Wild Bill, you was getting that helicopter. If you wanted Wild Weasel, you were getting the plane. I mean, Deep Six, you had to have the thing.
The shark. If you wanted them in their regular suits, now if you were willing to wait until they did a way off color, like the Wild Bill, who's got they recolored his shirt to a bright blue, and he's got like yellow sleeves and white gloves. It's like it's Wild Bill, but it's not.
or the neon pink helmet of Deep Six.
Yeah, or the Eco Warrior Flint, where he's wearing a hazmat suit.
They took the shark a few times. I'll give them that. They did. Yeah.
They were trying to keep that line alive, but man. But you had to get if you wanted Cutter, you had to buy the whale.
Yeah.
You weren't getting it any other way. You had to buy that hovercraft whale to get Cutter with it, and that was a smart marketing ploy, right? Especially for these kids who wanted it. And I will admit, there's a lot of GI Joe vehicles I didn't get because the bigger they got, the more expensive they got, right? So there's no way I'm having a USS Flag. But I didn't even get like the well and stuff because those were expensive at the time. But I had all the small ones. I had Cross Country's Havoc, and they had that little hovercraft that came out of it, and I had some of the. I
I
cannot
remember
remember the
getting
boat names.
the snow thing that the Cobra had.
Oh
The
yeah,
it had the little blue cockpit and the
yeah.
little cannons that launched up. That was probably one of the first ones I remember just getting, and I was just like, oh my god, this is so cool.
Oh yeah.
It's just Cobra had way cooler, more vehicles than what Joe's had.
And their vehicles were affordable because they were made
Yep.
for a 3.75-inch scale figure. He-Man being, what was it, close to 5, somewhere between 4 and 5 inches. By the time they spend the money to make those, just like now, it's so much more expensive that your parents couldn't afford to do it, right? I mean, it was a different time period. But
Yeah.
money was not the same as it is now, and inflation and stuff being what it is. But it was, hey, those were affordable for the most part until you got to the big ones, right?
Yeah.
But I
It
enjoyed
was always quite a hack too between
Yeah.
what was affordable and then what was like next level.
Yeah, and I love the selection they had because you could have, if you wanted to have. So with He-Man, you had all these superhero He-Man's team, right? And you had Skeletor's team. But for GI Joe and Cobra, if you want to say, okay, I want this to be a water themed war. Well, I've got the Navy characters here, and I got Cobra's, manta rays, and they're underwater people. So I can set just this up, or I can have an aerial battle, and I can have all these people. You can separate the teams by what their specialties were, right? That's something you didn't get with any of the other toy lines to me.
No, and going with loyalty aside to which crew you was, did Cobra not have just the more cooler figures? They had so many. I mean, they're like the Cobra Eel is a random figure that you would not have bought under other circumstances in another toy line.
Yeah.
They found a way to make foot soldiers really cool, like Cobra Eel, the Techno Viper, Pit Vipers. I mean, some of these guys, just the Crimson Guard, are just so cool looking in concept that you was like, you're not buying. I mean, I won't buy a Cobra soldier because it's just always plain Jane. He was the only foot soldier they made look plain. Be like buying a grunt.
But they had levels to their foot soldiers as well as individual characters. G.I. Joe only had grunts and then individual characters. There's no levels in between. It's like you either had a name or you didn't.
Yeah, if you didn't have some cool code name, you're red shirted.
Yeah, you were a low man on the totem pole. But speaking of that, and I don't want, because I know we'll go down this rabbit hole for a long time. But let's say pick maybe your top 5 to 8 character figures or characters or toys, whether it was a vehicle or a character. What was some of your top ones?
Ooh.
And no, this is not the nerd out question. This is just a random.
Yeah, that's actually a really good one, Monster. Dude, I'm gonna be honest. I'm gonna go with favorites, not so much favorite characters, but just figures I enjoyed. And
that's what I meant.
I thought they were the coolest ones.
And that's what I meant in the first place.
The Techno Viper is a very undervalued figure. He's really cool. The Bat, the General Hawk that had the jetpack.
Oh yes.
Where the wings actually come out. I loved that figure growing up. For some reason, I was always a sucker for Wetsuit. I don't know why. He was so cool to me.
That's a cool one.
And just something about him was really, really cool. And then you were kind of hating on it a little while back. That version of Snake Eyes where he's in the blue and black and silver.
Oh, the Ninja.
I shared it up. Yeah, I shared it on our social media a few days ago.
Yeah.
That was one of my. He was fun. He was a cool character, and he looked great to me. That was probably my big five.
I will say that is not my least favorite, but that is one of the ones that he wasn't my top tier one. The Snake Eyes was the Ninja one. Yeah,
he wasn't stealthy at all, but he was cool looking.
Yeah. For me, I think Duke was always my absolute favorite. So him, Flint. For whatever reason, I always liked Dial Tone and Lieutenant Falcon. I guess I just like the Green Beret type ones. Those were cool. And then Barbecue was he was my, hey, this is my go-to guy for whatever reason. I had a Slaughter as a kid, and I would say him, but for whatever reason, Slaughter was the only G.I. Joe I had that the thumb on both hands broke off. So he couldn't hold
Oh,
a damn
wow.
thing with both hands. And I did have his little tank, which was a cool thing. But my favorite vehicle was the Tiger Force, the plane, the VTOL one, where the wings would turn up and it could raise straight up to take off, and then it would turn the turbines and the wings out
Yep.
straight. That was my favorite vehicle for whatever reason. I loved that one.
The Night Raven was probably my favorite. That was so cool to me. It was like, it looked like the Blackbird, but it
Yeah, it
was,
does.
it was so cool. And if I had some honorable mentions, I'd have to give some love to Sci-Fi, Dalton, like you
Great
said.
figures.
He was so fun. Lifeline, I really liked him.
I love Lifeline. I don't know why he's always hated on, but he
I
was my
don't either.
favorite.
But these are some figures I want to see made into the classified line.
I actually like to see that.
All three of those I would love to see in the classified line. And then Bazooka and Alpine, that was my Joes. I just, I love to play with.
And I'll throw another vehicle in there that I thought was, an honorable mention to me was Cross Country's Havoc. Now, I didn't care for Cross Country himself, but his Havoc was a cool vehicle.
It was very cool.
But
Even though he put a tape deck in it, and Beachhead got upset about it.
So what was the? Let me ask you this too. What was the one or two top, whether it's figures or play sets or vehicles that you didn't get that you really wanted? That if you could go back today and find one at a reasonable price, you'd probably buy it and put it up immediately.
Hands down, the Cobra Thunderdrome, or however you say it, the big circular thing. That guy.
Yeah.
That's number one.
I can find you one of those. I know where one's at right now.
I bet I can't afford it.
Probably not. I'm sure it's like $200 to $300 unless you want to spend it on that. But I know where one's at because I see it every time I go to the store.
And as much as I would love to say the flag, I got to go with the space shuttle.
Oh,
that
the
was
Defiant.
always, yes, it was so neat to me. Now, those two right there would be my go-tos. Like if somebody said, "Hey, wish upon this beer can and you get these two items," those would probably be it. They put a MOC, and I would have to cringe against everything in me not to open them.
For me, my favorite vehicle, the one I never had that I always wanted, was the Whale, the hovercraft that Cutter drove for Joe's. I just always liked that vehicle. That one cool. That one was impressive to me, and I don't know if there's, off the top of my head, just trying to think of them, I don't know if there is another one or not, but that's the one that stands out the most to me that I wanted. I take that back. The other one, I had one, and I think I got it secondhand. Somebody, saw it at a flea market or whatever, so it was missing pieces. So I will say this because I want a full one, but the Tomahawk.
Oh, man.
Joe's rescue helicopter. Because I had that, but the blade, I was missing some of the blades. I think there was 4 or 5 blades on it, 4 to 6, and I only had like 2 on it. So I could play with it, but also like the winch and stuff, and I was missing. And I wanted that to be the rescue copter with lift ticket and lifeline coming out to rescue my Joes. And
I remember being about 7 or 8, and my next door neighbor at my grandparents' house, he had everything. Like, I used to think they were rich when I was little because he had everything. Literally, he was one kid, but he had bunk beds. So that was automatically cool in the 80s. But like the top bunk, he had all the vehicles up there, like laid out in a playset type deal. And then he had, all the figures and whatnot. And I just remember going over there and I could just look just in amazement. And I guess, his mother, because me and him played, together for years. I'd always go over there and, check out everything that he had. It was always so cool to me. And I remember she bought me, for my birthday, the barbecue. I was so excited. And my grandmother, she had these shrubbery out front. So, we're little assholes. We throw them up in the air and watch a parachute down.
Yeah.
Parachute comes loose. He goes straight in those boxwoods. I've had him all of 30 minutes. Never found him.
Oh.
Never found him. I got stung by 2 wasps. So then I'm terrified to go look for him again. And I just remember years later, I'm trimming them son of a bitches I know my damn figure's still in here somewhere. Never found him. So yeah. But that was always so cool to me.
Oh, that is neat. Yeah.
He had the tom, but he had a tomahawk though, and he actually had it like kind of displayed, kind of.
That's an awesome vehicle, and I see them all the time now. And I'm like, I can't afford that. Not for what it is now.
No,
So-
that's an expensive rabbit hole to go down because I went through that about 10 years ago.
Yeah, I try to avoid it, especially now that they're doing some of these other ones, and I want to see you make some of these vehicles in a larger scale. But that was going to be my next question to you. If you can pick your poison, what do you prefer? New figures over old, and what size? 6-inch, 3.75. And I guess that's the question between new and old: is what size do you prefer to do? The classified size, or
Well, I guess because like I said, I went down that rabbit hole 10 years ago where I went for a while where I was spending a ridiculous amount of money on the 3 3/4. I think it was around the time the 25th anniversary line come out.
yeah,
I started buying them off eBay, and I was going for all the core originals. And I left them at a friend's house to guard for me, and his wife, who will remain nameless, decided to cut the damn air off to this room and ruined all but a handful. And like the O-rings fall, the rubber band falls, the joints. I was careful, tight joints. I had them displayed at one point for my divorce. Well, they all come home with loose joints, and most of them the rubber band had done broke. They're in pieces.
yeah.
So the only one I got 2 left that are still mint. Thankfully, I don't know how they survived because they were in bubble wrap, I guess. But I do have a gung ho and a dial tone. Both of those are mint with all accessories, file cards. But so I've been down that rabbit hole. I'm at a point now where I prefer the classified. I like the larger scale, the detail. I want to see. I'm gonna stick a little closer to the cartoon look
Yeah, that's
without
exactly what I was
sacrificing
gonna
the
say.
detail.
I was going to agree with you 100% because I like the classified ones, and the I like some of the realism they give them, but I also want it to be a little closer to the what I saw animated wise, right? Like the barbecue is a good cross between the two of them, and
Yes.
I see him behind
Very
you. The last roadblock was, which I'm gonna fuss at Hasbro right now because I just got an email today telling me that my roadblock that I see sitting behind your shoulder is not coming out until August now, and you've already got yours from Amazon, so have everybody else. But the one that
I've
I
had
ordered
it
from
for quite
Hasbro
some
Pulse
time.
is not coming till August. It got delayed from this month to August. And I'm like, this is like the 4th delay on it. But like
Now, on that note, Amazon giveth and taketh away too, because like literally, I just got my Ultimate Warrior, my Ultimate Warrior in today that I pre-ordered last August.
yeah,
So
everybody's having the issues, but at the same time, it's like I will reserve the right to complain about someone when I know that they've been giving them out to certain stores, but I'm still suffering, and I'm paying for the subscription service, so I'm going to complain. But
I'm a fan of the way they've done this roadblock. He looks
yeah.
tremendously better than the other two. I wish they hadn't put the helmet on him in the box because I want to open him to get that damn helmet off so I can get him in bald glory.
Yeah. Yeah, well, the first Duke is good, but it just wasn't. It was a little far removed. It was a little too realistic, from the build of the figure. Now, when they repainted him and re-released him, it was a little bit better because it was closer to the animated series in that aspect. But it was still, half of one, 6 of the other.
Well, let me ask you this, Monster. We know they're doing the retro line, and they're going to be classified scale. Most of them's going to be like basically repainted with a little minor retool.
Sure.
If Duke comes out looking a little closer to that cartoon look, do you go in for him?
If they change some of the outfit, like the boots are way off for what Duke would be. The bandolier was okay that they gave him. The shirt was okay once they repainted it. The pants and the gloves and stuff were just too far removed from me. So unless they take those off, probably not. Now, like the gun.
Well, they gave him a very tactical look, but Duke wasn't exactly. He was supposed to be the leader. He wasn't going to be tactical in the field always.
Yeah, now like the gung ho, where it's a repaint of that what's already been released, but it's cartoon accurate. I will probably get him to have that version opened. Because
he has the correct hat in this one.
Yeah.
And the only gripe I've seen at all about him is they did correct some of the chest tattoo, but they still didn't go full blown.
Yeah.
It's bigger than it was, but not quite where it should be.
I can live with some of that because the way I'm going to pose him anyway, you're not going to be able to see all of it anyhow. But with that, I know we could probably sit here and talk about this for many more hours, but we're running a little tighter on time. So let's move into the nerd out segment of the show. And for anybody who's new to the show, this is where we ask random questions about the topic we've been on for the day, and we give our on the spot answers. And if you want to feel free to provide your answer in the comment section below, do that. Or if you want to expand on something we said, feel free to do that as well. We'd love to hear your feedback on these. I know Hassel, I don't remember which one of us went first last time because it was like 2 weeks ago at this point. And I actually have two questions today, and I'm going to be honest with you because I always come up with a couple of options. I think that you would like both of these, so I'm going to try and work on both of them if we have time. But you want to go first or you want me to go first?
I'll tell you what.
Sweet.
I'll let you go.
All right. So first question we've already started into a little bit, but what's your top 5 to 8 want list of characters that you want to see come out in the classified lines that hasn't been announced already?
That hasn't been announced?
Yes.
I want a Bazooka Alpine 2-pack, but I'll say that's still 2.
So let's count that as 1 though, honestly, because Bazooka is coming out. It's just in the Tiger Force colors, right? So
okay,
it's an easy repaint for him. So let's say Alpine, and you got Bazooka Alpine 2-pack, but to your point, that one has been announced, so we'll only dock you for 1 on that one.
All right, so I would like to see a Lifeline, Low Light.
Great one.
I'd like to see Sci-Fi.
Yep.
Dial Tone. I want a Slaughter, a real Slaughter.
Fair. I almost went there on my list. I didn't include him just because I am going to buy the version 2 from the Action Force one.
I did as well. However, I would love to see their version of the Slaughter.
Yeah.
And I'm a guilty pleasure here. I want the General Hawk, but I want him with the jetpack. And not just the movie jetpack, the jetpack.
The one with the wings.
Yes.
That was a great Hawk.
Yes. Gosh, yes. And lastly, for number 8, I want a Techno Viper.
I foresee that one coming soon.
Yeah, if it wasn't him, it would have to be a Cobra Eel.
So for me, I looked at them, and a lot of the ones I have are some of the same ones you do. Now, there's a few that I had to toss out because I was trying to get the list down. I didn't want to do a 10 because that was just getting too long. But because Low Light was pretty close on my list too, and another one you named off was as well. But I had Shipwreck, Sci-Fi, Dial Tone, a Quick Kick. That's the one that as a kid that I never had that actual figure. Wild Bill, Lifeline, Lieutenant Falcon, and Airtight.
What? Falcon makes your list?
I like Falcon.
Oh, come on. I don't care if Don Johnson voiced him or not. Come on.
I thought you were going to go off on Airtight for a minute, but
I mean, he almost got Duke killed. I mean, let's be honest here.
He did, but that's what made him a better soldier too. So I don't know. I just always liked all the Green Beret characters.
Actually, he was one of my favorite figures growing up. I really did enjoy him.
So with that, what is your question, sir? Then I'll do my last one if we have enough time, because the last one will be a quick one, I think.
I'm gonna go into the movie, the cartoon movie. What I classify as the only movie.
86.
How destroyed would you have been had they went with the original premise and left Duke dead?
Really bad off, because that was my favorite Joe out of all of them.
I guess what I'm getting at, would that have destroyed you more than Prime going?
That I don't know. That's a tight race, because for me, I watched both of those. So growing up where we grew up, both of those were on the same channel, and they were usually back to back. So that was like an hour of my life right there, and Duke was my man on one, and Prime was on. Yeah, Duke was my dude on one, and Prime was my guy on the other. So I was like, yeah, I don't know if it. I don't. Like even when Prime died, though, I did not have a problem with Rodimus Prime replacing him. You know, I was sad that Optimus was gone, but Rodimus tried to come into his own. It was an okay. I still missed Optimus.
I guess the only thing bad about that is they killed off so many original characters. It was such a change to the show.
I guess my biggest thing with Duke is if they killed off Duke and they had, depending on who replaced him, right? That probably would have been, would that have crushed me or not? Because if Falcon would have been Duke's replacement, no. I wouldn't have even liked Falcon at that point. But now, if Duke dies and Flint's your new number one guy now, because he was always your number two right behind Duke, I can live with that. I don't like it because I don't want Duke to be dead, but at least I can deal with it.
I guess you just disbarred General Hawk from your G.I. Joe team.
Hawk is in there, but let's be honest. How many of the episodes before season 2 or so, when they put Hawk on there in his leather jacket and stuff, was he even really there? He was just kind of in the background, like General Hawk exists, but we also always talk about all the admirals.
Honestly, I don't really remember him before the episode where Slaughter shows up.
I don't remember him a lot before that one either. I remember him always talking about the admiral that they were always talking to on the ship. They were always on the flag, and it's the admiral who was in charge of the flag that I remember more as being over.
Wasn't he always like nameless and faceless?
I think he had a name, but I don't remember what it was because he wasn't important to the story.
I just kind of remember him being like the nanny on the Muppets. You just seen legs.
No, he was on there. I just don't remember his name. I'm gonna have to go back and watch some episodes tonight now.
There we go.
So, what about you? How would that have? How would you have felt if they'd stuck with that storyline?
I'd have quit right there.
Really?
I'd have been done. Poor little Hassel was so crushed when they killed off Prime. Like, I'm 40 years old now, and it'll still get me a little like that when you watch it. So, yeah, I haven't watched the Joe movie in quite some time. I've got the Blu-ray, so I need to probably pop it back in. And I will say that opening is great.
Oh, that opening fight great. And the music.
Yes.
Yeah.
It's so great, but yeah, I'd have been done right there. It'd have been no more.
I can understand that. So since we got a couple minutes, and yeah, we're gonna probably run a couple minutes over, but not too far. Let me ask you my other question because I just want to see what your response is. So we've got upcoming crossover toy between Transformers and G.I. Joe, and we always get Transformers and G.I. Joe crossing over each other. If you could cross over any other property into the new toy line, or even into a new show or a comic or whatever, cross any property over with G.I. Joe and make them a part of their universe, other than Transformers, who would you choose?
And into the Joe verse.
Yeah.
I think Mask is just slapping you in the face. Mask and Venom, they just slap you in the face. Yeah. Why did this not happen?
That's the exact answer I had. So, what if you take Mask and make it a division of G.I. Joe? Yeah. And if you do that, you do have the opportunity to say later, let's add Transformers in too, because maybe the Mask stuff is reverse engineered from a ancient dead Autobot body that they found, and that's how the Mask vehicles were created. They learned how to transform it from that.
Yeah, well, masking the Transformers is just too easy to do. I think my daughter, who's read a handful of comics, could write this title. But I mean, masking the G.I. Joe would be a little more challenging to make sense, but is still a no-brainer.
Yeah, and I think the Venom and Cobra team up is probably the harder part of it.
Oh,
because Miles Mayhem is not going to be subservient to Cobra, and Venom being a section of Cobra. Mask being
no, they're going to battle for supremacy, and they're going to but their end goal being the same. The enemy of my enemy is my friend. I mean, it's that type
and I see Mask being real easy to fold into G.I. Joe, because just make it a government agency, and it's either next to Joe's as part of another specialist force, or it's a subdivision of G.I. Joe that focuses on strictly the vehicles and stuff. I think that's an easy end for them.
I'd read it.
I would as well. But with that, I think that gets us close to closing out the show today, and we've got a few announcements and stuff to do before we close out. So, Hassel, you want to tell the fans about our special announcement for our upcoming interview next week?
Yeah, we got we teased a few things a few weeks ago, and some things are falling further and further into place on some things. But one of the big things we have next week, we have the director of the show, independent film Raven. He's August Aguilera of Strange Film Studios. He'll be here live with us, and we'll pick his brain a little bit about the independent film scene and what it takes to get a movie out there. He just had his movie did really well at Days of the Dead in Atlanta, and so we're pretty excited to have them all come on here to kind of tease something we have coming, and if the stars align. If everything works out correctly, hopefully in April, we'll be able to have a live Nerdy Manroom show from the Zone in Tifton with our buddy Daniel Garcia that was here just last week, so our last episode. He's going to come up from Florida. He's going to bring some prints to hype the Kickstarter he's working on for the book. And if we just get Monster's ass down here to Georgia, where like I said, we got some cross T's and I's to do. But
yeah, but with that, let's make sure we tell everybody, hey, keep an eye out for information on the Kickstarter for Xyber Ronin on Daniel Garcia's pages, whether it's on Facebook at Daniel Garcia or on Instagram at D Garcia Comics. Keep an eye out for that. We'll have more information on here as it develops too.
he actually announced today they got book 1 in the can, and they're about to start issue 2. So,
excellent.
They're ready to get the Kickstarter off the ground.
Excellent. And while we're on that, remember, check out our sponsor, These Own Collectibles, for all your nerdy needs. You can find them on the internet at thezonecollectibles@gmail.com, on Facebook at The Zone Collectibles, and at their store in Tifton, Georgia. Help them support the local artist community and support their cause of bringing unity through community. Fandoms Unite. And before we leave off of them, Hassel, giveaway time. We got some giveaway prizes to give out and a winner chosen. And
we do. Sadly, our winner from our last episode, he never claimed his prize. I'm not sure what went wrong. They liked the post. I reached out to them. They never commented. So this week's winner not only gets this week's prize, which is a Phantom of the Opera print and a Star Wars print, which I know this guy's going to really like because he's a cool cat. But he is currently stationed in Kuwait, and his name is Whit Alexander. Willie, we're proud of you, buddy. We're happy that you're a fan of the show, and we're going to get this in the mail to you as quick as we can. And I've done reached out to you folks, so we have all your info, and you'll actually get yours. So please, if we do hit you up and say you are this week's winner, it's not spam. You've won.
And remember, stay tuned. Each week we'll continue to do these giveaways. And remember, all you have to do to enter is like, subscribe, comment, or share on any of our social media platforms or here on YouTube. That's all it takes to get entered for a chance to win. And again, if for the gentleman who won last time, gentleman, lady, I can't remember exactly who it was. If you won last time and you see this and we weren't able to hook up with you on this one, maybe we can work something out for you.
If you'll reach out, we will make it right. If you'll reach out to me and give me an address and just say, hey, I misunderstood, we will get you a prize. Promised.
And with that brings today's episode to a close. But before we leave, Hassel, tell everybody where they can find us at on social media.
We are on Facebook and Instagram, the Nerdy Manroom Show, or Hassel Hutchison, I think, on Facebook, because it won't allow me to change the name. We are on the Twitter at NerdyMR Show, and YouTube, obviously. Like, subscribe, click the bell to get our alerts, interact with us, comment to enter, share us, spread the word. We're on some bathroom stalls here or there on stickers. You can find us about everywhere.
At least you clarified how we were at the bathroom stalls.
Monsters in the glory holes. I'm on the walls.
No, I think not. But join us here next time for a special interview with Strange Film Studios director August Aguilera. Until then, live nerdy and make sure you know, because knowing is half the battle.